and rightly so. Okay? But let me say this. Fear has created more practicing heretics than bad theology probably ever has. Because if I stood before you and said, Jesus is not the only way to heaven, you'd catch that right away, wouldn't you? Right? You'd be having a meeting with me right away, and then if I remain firm in that, you'd either find another church or another pastor, right? I mean, I have no doubt that that would happen. But fear, it makes us live as though we serve a limited, finite, partially present, semi-competent God. And it makes us then practical heretics in the sense that we don't trust God any longer. Yes, this virus is bad. It is deadly and it is evil. But God is and remains and always will be good. The media uses fear because fear sells. I saw a recent thing where somebody was talking to, I think it was the Surgeon General. It was an NBC reporter, I think, and she asked him, aren't you concerned about how the cases of people diagnosed with COVID-19 have grown exponentially? And he says, not really. And she's like, why? And it's because it hasn't, we don't know how rapidly it's expanding actually. These people already had it, we're just discovering that they had it. The death rate still remains low. And just because we discovered that they had it, it didn't mean that it just spread right then. Lots of people have it and aren't even getting sick. She totally ignored what he said. He goes, yes, but isn't that fearful? Shouldn't the American people be fearful? And he's like, no. And I was really glad that he was not giving in to the fear that she was selling. Excuse me. The media uses fear because fear sells, but I'm not buying it any longer. As I wrap this up, I want us to, again, turn back to the Word of God. Deuteronomy 31:8. The Lord is the one who will go before you. So know this. If you get this virus, God's gone before you with it, okay? He's ahead of the game. He's ahead of the curve, all right? He will be with you, it says. He will not leave you or abandon you. Do not be afraid or discouraged. How many of us think we're not going to physically die? Okay? More than likely, unless Jesus comes back, more than likely it's going to happen to everybody in this room. Okay? I would like to go in as least painful way as possible. I already put my order in with him on that. Okay? But, you know, it's one of those things I've discovered over the years. God doesn't always do what I want him to do. But I do know this. He will go before me. He will be with me. He will not leave me. He will not abandon me. I don't have to be afraid or discouraged. His word says that. Isaiah 43:1. Now this is what the Lord says, the one who created you. Again, my voice is doing that to me. This is what the Lord says, the one who created you, Jacob, and the one who formed you, Israel. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. You know what? No matter what happens, that's never changing. That's never changing. Psalm 23:4. We all know the 23rd Psalm, but we're just going to pull the one verse. Even when I go through the darkest valley. Now, this is probably not the darkest valley I've ever been in, at least not yet for me. It was a lot darker 16, 17, 18 years ago. I think it was 18 years ago when I was in the hospital. But even when I go through the darkest valley, I fear no danger, for what? You are with me. You are with me. God's with us in this, folks. He's not abandoning us. You say, where's God? He's right there. He's right there. It says your rod, which means your protection. Okay? That's what that was for. And your staff, that's guidance, comfort. It's with you. They comfort me. I'm comforted by the fact that you're going to protect me through this, and you're going to guide me. And somebody's going to say, well, are you saying Christians aren't going to get the virus? There's some Christians going around saying this. And let me tell you something. That's bad and wrong. I'll just say that's stupid to say stuff like that. Okay? But that doesn't mean that God's not protecting us. Because why? Because ultimately we know we're going to be okay. In 2 Timothy 1:7, through this whole thing, this is good advice for us. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but one of power, love, and sound judgment or sound mind. Okay? Let's not borrow trouble that hasn't happened yet.
Right.
Let's not borrow fear, because fear will pay interest and that will turn into worry and stress. Yes, there is bad news, but there's also good news, okay? The bad news is that the coronavirus is a real thing, but the good news is that God is greater. Remember this, since we're not in Matthew right now, we'll refer back to this. They mocked Jesus. Friends abandoned him. Peter denied him. Judas betrayed him. The soldiers beat him, spit on him, and crucified him. That day was the ultimate of bad news days. But Sunday came. And on the third day, bad news lost for all time. Okay? As a child of God, whatever bad news that may enter into our lives has no power to separate us from God. Whatever bad news comes our way cannot keep us from the good news of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And so let us stand firm in the good news of Jesus. Amen?
Amen.
Okay. With that, look at it, 10 after 12. Even though we got started late, we're done. Any word before we dismiss it?
You want to take a tithes and offerings?
Oh yeah, we gotta do that. We got it up here. Yeah, I was just talking about how we gotta make sure we do that, and then we forgot all about
And
that.
I